Motor Trend has been testing new cars for over 60 years, and during that time we've tested all kinds of them, from little sports cars to gigantic cargo vans. But that does present a dilemma because we have to have new and different ways to test the cars. Now over time there's been many approaches we've taken. Back when it all started, we used stopwatches. This is one that I used to use, and I used it to time a slalom by actually putting it in my mouth and biting on it, like that, to start and stop. You don't want to swallow it. This is a fifth wheel. These used to be attached to the backs of cars or onto the side, and that would accurately measure the speed. We have the radar gun, and this was quite popular as well. It was rather accurate, more accurate than you'd believe. Finally, and best of all, these days we use a GPS system, and this is from V-Box, and that's the antenna. Now that's all well and good, but look at these two cars. That's a $380,000 Rolls-Royce Ghost and a $250,000 Bentley Flying Spur. How do you test these cars? Well, that's a very good question. I think we're going to have to be creative. So here we are in the Ghost at the drag strip in Fontana. These two things don't go together too often, but here we are, so let's take advantage of it. I'm going to do an acceleration run. This car has a 6.6 liter twin turbo V12 with 563 horsepower. It's a lot of power, but this is a lot of car. So let's see how it does. Hold the brake, give it a little throttle, and go. And 60 is 4.4. And the quarter is a 12.8 at 113.1 miles per hour. So now we're going to try a brake stop from 60 miles per hour. This car weighs 5,500 pounds. That's a lot. Ready? Hold on. Boom. That was 112 feet. Not too bad. So now we're in the Bentley Flying Spur, and this car is powered by a 6-liter twin turbocharged W12 engine, making 616 horsepower, a lot of power. So we're going to bring the revs up, and there we are, and then boom, off we go. And 60 was 4.3 seconds. Okay, that's a 12.9 at 107. So not quite as good a quarter mile performance as the Rolls, but a better 0 to 60. Not bad, 106 feet. That's a bit better than the Rolls was. We're at the figure 8 in the Flying Spur, and I'm slowly building up speed. This car has all-wheel drive, and nominally it's a 60-40 front-rear split, but it can vary more dramatically than that. It has paddle shifts. They seem a little bit slow in responding, though. Really getting the rear end working well. Drifted out a bit there. The car is really kind of understeering. You know, this isn't really a lot of fun with this car because I feel like I'm really hurting the tires. It's such a heavy car. So it does the figure 8 in 26.2 seconds. So here we are about to figure 8 the Ghost, and let's see if it has a ghost of a chance of beating the Bentley. So it'll do the figure 8 in 27.1 seconds. A lot of nosedive, a lot of roll. Whoa, Nelly, yes. Excuse me. Sorry back there, passengers. The chauffeur has lost his mind. So here we are at the Motor Trend figure 8 course. You can see it by the cones and all the tire marks on the ground. And when we do this test, we can gather some data that can show us some interesting visual presentations of what the performance of the car was like. Well, these cars are rather different than the norm. They're lofty, beautiful, magnificent, majestic, artful vehicles that aren't just about performance, but they're about other higher things. So what's a way to represent that? How about with real art, performance art? What we've done is we have a container in the back of that car that's laying horizontal, and in it we put a canvas. Like that, taped it down, we put paints on it, and done the figure 8. and let the paint do whatever it wants to do. But I can tell you one thing, it's a terrible thing to do in a $400,000 Rolls Royce. Okay, so here we are. We've done our painting at the test track, and here are the results. To examine them, we've got Mike Royer and Darren Scott and Johnny Lieberman, and they're all experts at art in one way or another.
What do you see in the Rorschach test?
No, what do you see? I just said mom.
Well, usually I see murder. Clowns.
Interesting. How much are they worth?
Well, they weren't.
How much was the canvas?
I'm a bit older. There was a pack of 6, I think, for like $12, $11.99.
So you've ruined the canvas, so it's not worth that anymore. So
of course, less than that.
Well, if we did it again, what could we do with like a LFA or something crazy?
Prius.
Again, the paint doesn't move.
I say we do it occasionally. I like the idea.
I'll be the big car nerd here. So we have all-wheel drive, engines mostly in front of the half shafts.
Understeer. You see understeer.
We have understeer. So that's what understeer looks like to an artist. And this is what a rear-wheel drive front engine, but it's kind of front mid-engine. This is what oversteer looks like.
Oh, it was definitely an oversteer.
Yeah.
So these are one-offs. That's it.
It'd be a little hard to reproduce.
Limited edition.
Yeah, very limited edition.
What about the next time you get?
They would have never let you do this in the first place. In fact, they're probably going to come get you.
Could be very rare paintings.
The artist was murdered by the CEO of major car companies. That'd be great.
So we're here now in the Bentley Flying Spur in Santa Monica, California, which is, you see the ocean out there and the beach, and it's absolutely gorgeous, those palm trees, very California setting. We've had a chance to drive this on the Rolls in a lot of different environments, at the test track and windy roads, various environments now. The interior of this car, I think, is really quite attractive. The materials, the woods here, gorgeous. The taste, the stitching, the detailing, I think is all really nice. It's got these organ stops for the open and close the vents. A lot of the other controls are a little bit more ordinary looking. They don't look like they're from a $250,000 car. They look like they're from an expensive luxury car for sure. The seats are comfortable. The gauges are a little, again, it could be from any sort of English-German car. It's an edgy automobile despite its size. But there's a few things I could criticize about its vehicle dynamics. The ride, even in its softest setting, it's firm at times, so impacts come through. These are 21-inch wheels. I think the biggest criticism I have of this car is how different is it really than an extreme Audi, for instance, in terms of its driving experience. That I'm not so sure about. And yeah, it does have a lot of power, but again, the throttle response is a little bit slow, a little bit sluggish. The sound of the engine accelerating is not entirely pleasant to hear. It's a little bit of vibration from time to time, surprisingly. So is it an Uber Audi or a Bentley? Well, it drives a little bit like an Uber Audi, frankly. Well, as if I have to tell you, we're now in the Rolls-Royce Ghost, and just a beautiful interior in here. Magnificent, and there's so many cues about Rolls-Royce history. All of the wood, magnificently done. This wood, by the way, all comes from the same tree, all of the wood inside, so that when it ages, it all darkens in the same way. You don't end up with different colors of wood over time. The steering wheel has a thin rim, and there was a few drivers of this car who've complained about it. But actually, to me, it does remind me of the classic Rolls Royces. They were like this, and so it doesn't compromise in that regard to try to be something else. It gives you the feeling of you're almost your own chauffeur, because it is fun to drive. There's a pleasure here. I mean, it's not a sporty car at all, obviously, but there's a strange pleasure about it. It's nice. This car is to celebrate the Alpine Trials victory in 1913 by a Rolls Royce. And if you're into that stuff, it's fun. Otherwise, you end up with a car that has a $41,000 paint job that is probably the wrong color in the first place. The black grille is kind of interesting because this is apparently the only production Rolls that's ever been built that has a black grille where there's a different color. There's a topography description of the route, the up and down of the going over the hills and whatnot. So this little clock here tells the time, but it also has a lot of little markings on it that I don't understand, and they relate somehow or another to that event 100 years ago. Although it's magnificently built, here and there are little bits of plastic that are pretending to be something else. I'm a little critical of that. For that kind of money, I would expect every absolute thing that it looks like aluminum is aluminum or something else, and it isn't 100% that way. And I would hope for a little bit higher standard in that regard, but it's hard to knock it. I mean, look around. This is magnificent. The driving experience of this car is just unique. I mean, there is absolutely not another car on the road that drives like a Rolls-Royce. You know, when you picture what's a Rolls-Royce like to drive, it's exactly that. I mean, it's exactly what you might be imagining, other than it has a lot more power than I would have thought. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
How are you today?
Thank you.
So I'll be your chauffeur. You're in the Rolls-Royce. Okay, so you two are resident experts on Rolls-Royces, correct?
Yes, Kim, this is the first time I've been in a Rolls-Royce.
The first time
yes.
you've been in a Rolls-Royce.
Which makes me a complete expert.
Huh, okay. How about you, Derek?
I confess I've been in one before. I was best man at a wedding. I can't even, I wouldn't be able to tell you what the model was. That's it.
So you're not experts. Do you know how to close the door?
Is the chauffeur?
Does the chauffeur do that?
Well, you guys have to do it.
Okay.
Here's how you do it. There's a button behind that pillar right there.
Oh, I see it, yeah.
And just hold that button down.
Okay.
There you go. Now here's some other things. Pull down the armrest.
There?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a minute.
And what's in there? Oh, wow. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, okay.
So you can adjust your seat. Seat controls, yes.
Oh yeah, moving.
You can do all kinds of things. So we're going to go for a little ride now.
Well, it's very smooth. I can't even hear any engine.
You can't hear the engine. Alan, have you been allowed near a Rolls-Royce before?
Well, the last time I saw Rolls-Royce it probably did have the Queen in it.
Did have the Queen?
Yes, when I was about 10 years old.
Really?
Yes, she opened a garbage incineration complex near where I lived.
Wow.
Well, here's the thing for me. This leather, I think, was made from a cow with such a great complexion that it looks like plastic. Yeah, and the wood refinement is very nice. I don't know if that's walnut. I'm not sure what it is, or ash.
Plywood.
Could be.
So these, we've got some TVs or something back here. What's going on?
Yeah. Is that not a TV? No, it's not a TV. It's a tray.
Oh yeah.
With a really smooth
Waiting
mechanism.
for the filet mignon.
Well, Darren, you say it's well made, but have a look at these little climate control sort of regulators here, sliders. They're almost plastic. In fact, they are plastic.
Lacking a bit of weight, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really, a bit of quality.
It just seems cheap.
Maybe they ran out of money after they put the carpet in.
Yeah, maybe they did. Yeah, I can't say I'm too impressed by this covering on the roof. It's kind of perforated, which is what's actually on my father's very first Ford that I bought.
Oh, that was a thing, yeah. That was always a thing, yeah.
It is,
like
yeah.
Ford Granada or something like that,
Yeah.
with a dodgy roof with some stains
it
on.
It seems cheap, doesn't it?
How's the sound system?
Ah, the sound system.
Oh, that is clear, yeah. I'm liking that.
You like that?
Yeah.
This is what the Queen does.
God, I didn't know that.
You knew that.
No.
I'm beginning to wonder where you guys are from.
It's been a long time since I've been back.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I mean, predominantly thumbs up. I mean, I knew in these modern times we would suffer the plastic disease, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of creeps in.
I'm disappointed, Kim. I am disappointed. I was expecting a lot more.
Okay, so now you're in the Bentley.
Okay.
And away we go.
But it's definitely more firmer, I think.
It is a firmer ride. It's narrow. I feel like I'm feeling like I'm in a smaller corridor.
Yeah, it feels less sumptuous in here for sure.
So this is basically like a little iPhone, isn't it?
So did you try the massage?
I've made something happen there.
A back-to-back, so to speak, comparison of the massage.
Oh yes.
So you like?
Have you got a massage?
Yeah, it's in the small of my back now, coming up to around the shoulders area. Oh, that's very nice. Oh, there's a little mini fridge in here. Oh, this is very nice. Okay. Ah, it seems to have some beverages. Old crafted hen. Vintage ale. Is there any glasses?
Yeah.
You're supposed to drink it out of the bottle. It's a bit unsophisticated, isn't it? Never mind.
How do we like this wood? The darker.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of walnut. I think it really dates it. No, it doesn't seem very contemporary.
I'm kind of liking the creamy leather though. I imagine it might get.
And what about the ride quality, the sound level?
I can feel the road. I can feel the road a bit more for sure.
Yeah,
We're not flying anymore. I met a bloke in a bar the other night. He says, I was telling him I might be doing this, and he says, you get driven in a Rolls Royce and you drive a Bentley.
Yeah, I could believe that.
Roller wins for me, for sure.
Yeah, I would say so, yes. I think the Bentley looks better, sleeker, but I think the Rolls-Royce definitely wins on sheer luxury.
We took both cars out late one night to determine their interior noise and ride quality. Using a seat accelerometer, the Bentley registered 35% more vibration than the Rolls. It was noisier too at 66.1 dBA or 23.9 zones compared to the Rolls' 63.8 dBA or 21.6 zones. It's a significant difference and further underlines the superiority of the Rolls.
I'm the golden child, dressed for success with my business style. I'm headed up the ladder right to the top of the pile.
One of the reasons we've come here as well is we wanted to actually measure how many people look at this car and also the Rolls-Royce. Okay, so we're doing our facial image recognition as we pass people here, and I see a lot of people along the sidewalk. So far, no looks that I've noticed. No, nothing there. Boy, there's a lot of people right here. We're by the 3rd Street Promenade, and there's people walking in front of us. I'm looking to see if anybody is looking at this car. And this is a $250,000 automobile, a Bentley. That guy is asleep. They're both asleep on the bench. Nothing there. Yeah, that guy, he did. All right, I think I saw one guy look, glanced in our direction. I mean, I'm surprised at the lack of reaction to this car. Maybe it's just not, spectacular looking enough in this environment where these people are really used to seeing Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all kinds of stuff. And this might be a little too subdued for them. But we've seen a few glances. Now, to some degree, I think that does relate to the styling of this car. I think it's a handsome car, and I like a lot of its details and elements about the exterior, the grille, the tail. I think is beautifully sculpted. It is a little stretched in the middle and a little lumpy in the middle, and a colleague has described it as looking a little bit like a hot pocket. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting that I think we think of cars like this as a vehicle that you expect to be seen in. I mean, it's a lot of money to spend to not be noticed. Okay, well, now we're going to move on to the Rolls-Royce and see how it does on these roads and how people react to it. It's a bright color, much more interesting car visually, and we'll see what happens. We've had people already taking a picture, many people looking, some thumbs up, some much more positive reactions. Now, this is kind of an unfair competition because you've got this crazy color on this car and these funny looking wheels and everything. And the Bentley is really kind of a dour, quiet color, so there's a big color advantage going here.
Which car is the better eye candy? Over the same course, the results were lopsided. In the Bentley, 9 out of the 90 people we passed looked at it, 10%, and 2 even turned around for a better look. In the Rolls, 18 out of 95 stared at it, 19%, 11 of them turning around. In addition, 2 even took photos. The overwhelming winner of the eye candy test, the Ghost.
So let's talk about the styling of the Rolls for a minute. The Bentley is a little bit bland. It's subtle, it's good looking. Don't want to criticize it because I think it's a handsome car, but it's a bit subdued. This car is not subdued. It looks like a Rolls. It has all of the cues. Now, in some ways, that's a little bit of a design box I think they've gotten themselves into, where they have to have so many of the cues, the fender shape there, and the little taillights, and how the back slopes away on the hood, and all these different bits and pieces. They're kind of trapped into this look, so it doesn't give them a lot of room to maneuver. There's a lot of expectations about it, what it will look like, and in some ways it's a bit of a caricature. Yeah, okay, maybe it is, but it does work. The car does have an overall coherent design. It's appealing to look at. I think it's best in profile. It's a very dignified profile. There's some other angles that look a little awkward at times, not quite right, but I think the profile is just magnificent. So, you know, it is what it is. Rolls isn't going to go off and design some crazy looking car just to be original. They're going to look like this, so that's part of the deal. But in this case, I think it's worked out pretty well. The important difference between these cars is that the Rolls is a clear statement about what this car should be. They've got one clear, simple idea in mind. It's going to be this. It's going to have a magnificent appearance, a magnificent driving experience. It won't handle as well as some other cars. It'll have some other deficiencies, absolutely. But it's one clear thing, and there's nothing like it. It truly is absolutely nothing like this car. And the Bentley is a more confusing storyline. It's a little harder to say exactly what it is. It would take so many more words to describe that car. You can describe this car by simply saying it's a Rolls-Royce. That's all you need to know. So the winner of this head-to-head is this car, the Rolls-Royce Ghost, an absolute showstopper, a brilliant, beautiful, magnificent car. It's the kind of car you drive it and you realize I really ought to work harder in my life and try to make more money to have a thing like this, because these are the rewards of life that we dream about, and this one's absolutely worth it.
I'm the golden child, dressed for success with my business style. I'm headed up the ladder right to the top of the pile. I recycle my dollars just to help you out. Talk about profit, gain, I'm the golden child, dressed for success with my business style. Headed up the ladder right to the top of the pile. And recycling dollars, that's as long as the now. Talk about profit, gain, I've been put in a position to shine like a star. Accomplishments placed in plaques on walls.
It just seems cheap.